Morning. Okay, today we're going to continue on with the methods of striking. We're going to cover the last one that I teach, number 7. This is going to be the Albanico. Now the Albanico is really a motion of pretty much just the wrist. Okay, you're doing a wrist and forearm torque kind of motion. But it's really not a power-based shot, but it's a very, very quick shot that can allow you to make a lot of money. Alright, so good way to practice the Albanico. Again, if you think about your footwork, similar as to what we do in our boxing. If I'm throwing a hook, letting my foot turn over on my lead, letting my back foot turn over on my rear, go across. You know, if I was going to go working on torquing my body, in order to get the actual movement of your shoulder to work correctly, unless you're just incredibly flexible, you got to let your body torque a little bit. And what I mean by that is this. If I'm up here and I'm thinking about this like a propeller of a helicopter, I'm going to torque similar to a hook to get the full rotation there. I'm going to turn back and torque similar to the cross to get my full rotation here. So I work my body to get my full rotation. Okay, and that's going to be for the overhead one. The bottom one, not so much. You're just going to torque, let your body kind of lean like you're doing an elastico to get that motion up and down. Okay, so it's a very quick, very easy to learn hit, but it is going to require you to kind of work on trying to get a little more flexibility out of your wrist. And again, this isn't a super power shot, it's just a great shot to set something up. Or if you've ever felt that backhand slap across your face or across your cheekbone, I've had my eye opened up with one of these before. And just the tip of this stick, which we've covered on other videos, how dangerous that very tip of this stick is as far as cutting things open. You're going to realize that tip strike is pretty deadly. Alright, well, I don't know if I say deadly, but I will say it's damaging. Alright, so to incorporate that in now, what we're going to do is we're going to do just a little short backhanded hit and incorporate the Albanico. We'll do a little short forehanded hit and incorporate the Albanico. Okay, so you want to be able to do this from either side. I may come in delivering a strike to zone 1 and decide that I want to come around with a quick Albanico to the other side. If this is blocked or somehow obstructed, I can come around with another hit the other direction. If I'm coming with a backhand that's obstructed, I can pop from the other direction. Now, in order to train this, we're going to work both sides. We're going to work the forehand and backhand smack. So I come in delivering the angle 1, I will turn around and deliver an Albanico in that manner. If I feed number 2, I'll feed the Albanico in that manner. Okay, so a good way to drill this is just sit here and just work this motion. Then from side to side, just work the motion. Fade, advance, advance, retreat, advance, retreat, advance, retreat. Now, you may want to just kind of, for working the torque and the flexibility of your elbow, you may want to do a little bit of this with a little less movement. Just let your hips rotate. If you want to get the good power shot, boom, let your foot torque. And let your foot torque. Let your foot torque in the manner it needs to be. And just practice it with the hip rotation. Try and be able to get that motion figured out. Okay? So that is what we call the Albanico. That's number 7 of the basic methods of striking that I teach. And again, these are all things that you're going to see inside the Pacific Archipelago Concept Program, but they're not always detailed like this. Pacific Archipelago Combatives Program is a very comprehensive system. And it evolved out of many, many years ago when Hawk was teaching what we used to call Arnis de Mano, Cadena de Mano. There was all kinds of different names that we had for it. It was basically a Praesos based system, a blend of the two brothers, Ernesto and Remy. And that evolved off the Filipino Combatives and eventually off into Pacific Archipelago Concepts. And I remember when we were discussing that name, man, decades ago, we were doing a seminar in San Jose, California. It was Pacific Coast Ohana. They called it the Gashiku. It was a big gathering where a lot of the Kufaroth lineage, and of course everybody in Hawaii, right? It was a Hawaiian art, Danzan Ryu guys, Kaijikembo guys, Kempo guys, anybody with Hawaiian lineage, we were all getting together. There's a real cool story that Hawk can tell you, probably has told you in seminars. we were doing a knife fighting, ground knife fighting, which is at that time pretty cutting edge, right? A lot of people weren't doing it. We had tons of people coming in here from different martial systems, and hardly anybody had a training blade. So Hawk sent me over to a local Home Depot, and we got a whole just basket full of paint stirrers, the little paint stirrers, and we had people out there doing the knife ground fighting with that. It was cool. But during that weekend, we went to eat, and we were sitting in a barbecue restaurant. And I remember him talking. He goes, you know, I love all the martial arts. He goes, but I'm not married to any of them. You know, or like he's not overly enamored with any one country, right? He goes, I love the whole Pacific Archipelago. You know, and it's kind of like that. And he was going like Pacific Archipelago Combat. And back then it used to be Pacific Archipelago Combatives. And I'm really in favor of him changing the name to Concepts, because that's really what he's showing. He's showing a bunch of material and techniques, but once you get beyond technique, you learn the concept of why you deliver that technique. Man, it's a whole different world for you. But that's really going to come through your evolution in martial arts. The better you understand the basics, the better you understand how to make a basic technique into an advanced technique, the better you're going to start developing the idea of understanding how, why, where, what, you know, those type of things on how to use that technique, when to use that technique, who to use that technique against, who are you to use that technique. Those are some big things that you got to think about. But I'm digressing in my conversation, which is, you know, hopefully this is a learning video, so you need to learn the who, what, where, when, why, and how too. You need to learn who came up with this idea, why they came up with it, why we practice it, you know, where we're going to use it at, who we're going to use it against. You know, all those things are very important. You know, you need to ask yourself those questions before you just go out and, you know, try and explain why you do what you do. You need to understand why you do what you do. And I think that's one of the benefits of training with Hawk over the years is there's always been a big focus on the truth in combat, understanding why we do something and knowing the truth of the material. And that's where I'm at with that. So going back again to the technique, we're going to go ahead and put this into the flow now. So we're going to add all of the 7 methods of striking that I've shown you so far together and put a flow together. All right. So, and you can modify this flow, tweak it any way you want to. You know, the whole goal of it is to be able to find a way that you can practice these methods of striking. Now I'm going to give you a way, because you may not have a way yet. But once you find or practice my way, find your way. All right. And there's many, I practice these in a variety of different ways too. I'm just going to give you one today, and then it's up on you to understand the method, the piece. Take that piece out of these 7 methods of striking. I'm going to show you 7 different ways. We're going to put one flow together with all 7 of them. But you can do it any way you want to, as long as you understand the individual pieces. All right, you know, you can make that puzzle anything you want it to be. Just understand what the individual pieces are. And if that puzzle starts to look a little funky, take each individual piece out, polish it up, make it fit, put it back into the puzzle. Okay, it's the same thing you do if you're a traditional martial artist doing kata, doing whatever you want to do. You take the individual pieces and you make the puzzle out of them. All right, does that make sense? So what we're going to do today is we're going to walk through that flow. I'm going to give you a flow, and then you figure out what you want to do with that flow. All right, so we're going to start off with the Ocho Ocho. When we come in, we're working the figure 8 strike. Downward and upward. Then we're going to move on to the Banda Y Banda, number 2. Side to side of the back and forth. Now we're going to move again onto the Rompida, or the up and down. We move the Rompida up and down, or we can just move our stick straight up and down, which is actually what I prefer. Okay, now we're going to get into thrusting, so the Sungkiti Tutsada, the thrust, or the gaff. Now again, we've covered these in all the other videos, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on them. So after the Sungkiti Tutsada, we work into the Doblete, small circle, into the Doblada, the big circles. Okay? And now to put it together in a flow, we'll work the Ocho Ocho downward, followed by upward. The Banda Y Banda, followed by the Rompida, which sets up our Sungkiti Tutsada. And I let this one follow through to set up my Doblete, which sets up my Doblada. I come out with a backhand shot, which sets up my Albanico, and I finish with a big hit. Okay, so that's a complete flow you can practice, and it's a good one for you to use up until you can develop your own. All right, so let's go through it again. Ocho Ocho down and up. Banda Y Banda. Rompida. We'll do Sungkiti with a follow through, setting up the Doblete, the Doblada, the backhand, which sets up the Abaniko, and a good finishing shot. All right, one more time. Ocho Ocho down, Ocho Ocho up. Banda Y Banda. Rompida. Sungkiti Tutsada. Doblete. Doblada. Abaniko and a big hit. Should have been Abaniko and a good hit. But anyway, I'm not demonstrating this to show off. I'm demonstrating to give you some plans and a way to practice this material. Okay, so go forward, work on this stuff, get good at it. Also, I'm going to encourage you, if you're coming up through this system with me, we're going through the Pacific Archipelago Concept System. That's what we're developing. Go to forcenecessary.com. Start taking a look at some of the videos that Hawk has on there. All this stuff is outlined. Now, you won't see, there won't be as many breaking down some of the older stuff, the way we put this stuff together back in the Arnis de Mano or the Presas method stuff, through the Filipino combatives. But you will see a complete gamut of stuff that you need that's required for the system. I'm just giving you a little bit extra today, just giving you a little treat. All right, so have a good day, work hard.